I'm just searching for equality, looking for some reason, no finding no apologies. But I do want opportunity, hard work, it ain't new to me.
Hey everybody, it's your girl Rach Da Gem, and you are back for another episode of Melanin Boulevard. Every week we have a guest, and this week we have Justin. Hey Justin.
What's going on, Rach? How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you doing?
No, living the dream, you know.
Living the dream. So Justin is actually friends with the guys at Beat Network. So how do you know them?
I went to school with Big Los. We came in the same year, freshman year. So I've known him since '07.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else I've kind of met through channels. Of course, I met his brother Jay. I haven't met Kev face to face, but we talk online all the time. So yeah, Los is my frat brother. That's how I know him there. So I've been rocking with him since '07. Wow, I'm old. Jeez.
Yeah, it's 2021. So y'all have been friends for a long time.
Yeah, well, over 10 years. Yeah.
That's good that you can have friends that last that long.
Oh yeah.
So shout out to them. Now, before we got on, we were saying that you were wearing your Melanin Boulevard tee. He's rocking his Melanin Boulevard t-shirt.
That's right.
You can't see it, but he is. Just take my word for it. So you actually won the contest, I think.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I don't win nothing. I don't win a damn thing. And I was like, when you missed me, I was like, all right, stop playing. I was like, oh no, I won. This is what's up. So, I'm glad I actually get to come on the show now and represent.
Yeah. So we've been chatting it up for a little while. He's my pen pal. He lives in a whole nother state. I always wanted a pen pal.
There you go.
Do those exist anymore? Like, what do you call them?
I think, well, I guess there's a new name because pen pal, I'm not using the pen. To text pal?
Text pal? I don't know.
Text pal? That doesn't have the same ring to it.
It doesn't. We're just going to keep calling it pen pals. I always wanted like a pen pal as a kid. And like you would see like Reading Rainbow and you would see like these little kids writing to people in China. And I'm like, I need that in my life.
I had one in this is probably my only memory of like my childhood. And that's a whole other thing. But I remember we had this pen pal program. I think I might have been in like the first grade. And I remember it was this dude in Wisconsin. I don't know why they chose Wisconsin. I'm from Jersey. Jersey to Wisconsin. I don't know how you connect that. But I remember he would always talk about cheese. And I'm like, because that's a thing in Wisconsin, I guess. And when you're little, you don't know what real cheese is. All cheese is American cheese. He started talking about cheese. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. But it was like an assignment. We had to write these letters. Now, it could have been a ruse. It could have been teachers writing us back. I have no way to prove it was an actual person. But I remember we had pen pals in like the first grade.
Because low key, I don't really like know anybody from Wisconsin that's like a cheese connoisseur. Like, oh yeah, like they fucks with cheese, but they don't be on it like that. Especially a kid. It was probably a teacher. They probably playing y'all.
Out here telling lies and deceit.
From young, don't do that. Right. So shout out to the pen pals out there. And I just found you super interesting because of what you do. And I've never met anyone that does what you do. So we're going to talk about that and figure out, now we know Black people do what you do. So let everyone know what you do.
Okay. So I am a marine scientist. I don't say marine biologist because there's some indications for marine biologists. One of those being that you're usually a marine diver. And I am a marine scientist who does not know how to swim at all. Probably shouldn't have said that out loud because I might lose my job. No, I won't. I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm not terrified of swimming. I grew up in the city. Like I said, I'm from New Jersey. I'm from Camden, New Jersey. There was really no opportunity to like get in the water or go to the beach, mainly because of a lot of things, because of my upbringing. It wasn't an opportunity to go learn how to swim. And when you go to college, you're not in college to learn how to swim. Also, my college did not have a swimming pool. So there's that. So I never really learned. Somebody tried to teach me once. I told them it doesn't count. my grad school roommate brags, he tried to teach me. It's like, that's not what happened. It was his graduation party, and we were drunk by the pool. That doesn't count as you teaching me how to swim. That counts as us in the pool drinking beer. Not the same thing. So even though I cannot swim, like I said, I don't have a fear of the water. So I've been on boats sometimes for days at a time. And people always ask, like, do you wear a life jacket when you're on the boat? And like, sometimes, sometimes it gets in the way of what I'm actually doing. So I tell everyone that I'm a marine scientist.
So what exactly do you do as a marine scientist?
It depends on a lot of things. Depends on the agency where you're at. There's different regional things. Right now, I'm stationed out in Massachusetts, and there's a lot of lobster fishing going on in Massachusetts. And right now, my position, I am a protected gear specialist. A lot of words, right? So protected species gear specialist. So protected species are any species that are on the endangered list. Um, so right now we're looking at whales and sea turtles, things of that nature. And the gear that these fishermen are using are on these lines.
Hmm.
So what we're trying to do is make some kind of contraption, or what we're calling a contrivance, a piece in the line that breaks at a certain strength, so that if a whale or a sea turtle gets entangled in this line, they can break free and not get caught and drown. So we're working on helping the fishermen roll out this new process, taking suggestions. What's really fun, I just got a work phone, which is like this real old ancient phone. But now it's like, hey, any fishermen have any questions, call Justin. So every fisherman in the state is going to start calling me soon with questions, comments, and concerns, which is going to be super awesome.
I believe you. I definitely believe you. So you're kind of like inventing something in order to save these endangered species from being caught, because there's people out there that will still catch them and keep them, or when they catch them, do they have to throw them back or do
Okay,
they throw them back?
so with the whales, what happens is we're looking primarily at right whales, and whales aren't the smartest creatures, so they've tried in the past to find ways to modify the gear and the traps so they don't get caught, right?
Mhm.
But they still are getting entangled. It's estimated that 80% of all whales have been entangled, and that word means something else now. So every time I see it in the paper, I laugh. Whales have become entangled. Now, they all don't die from this. They can get caught around their rostrum, in front of their head, or through their baleen, which is like their teeth, and actually, choke them up. And there's different levels. They can have just a basic entanglement. The entanglement can cut down into their flesh, and it'll kill them over time. And the thing with whales is that they have a small, we call it a gestation period or pregnancy period. So if you think humans, if a woman has a baby, 9 months after that, she can, not immediately, but you can go and have another kid again. With whales, it's a little different. Their pregnancy period is 12 months, and they have what we call a terminal period. So they only have certain episodes. So let's say we get a sexually immature female. They may, and I'm just spinning numbers out here. This isn't actual. That they may only have 6 interactions in their lifetime. So if this whale is killed and injured and they're at number 2, then they can't, contribute to the population, and they're all slow growing and things like that. So there's a lot of factors, but the base thing that we're trying to do is if the whale gets entangled, this rope has a breaking strength so that if the whale is swimming through it, the line will break and they'll become free. So we don't have to worry about them getting entangled and things like that.
Okay. So, you said that they're not the smartest animals, and I've seen Free Willy, right?
Uh-huh.
And they seem pretty smart to me, and they say
Okay.
they're pretty advanced as far
Okay.
as like how they stay close together, their language. So, you know what? I'm gonna have to go against what you say as a
Okay.
scientist.
Okay. So there are a lot of things that are communicated in movies and in TV that are not what they are. And one of the things I love to do is like someone will bring up a movie and I'm like, that's not how that happened, right? And I'll talk about it and ruin people's life. Like I've ruined Finding Nemo for everybody in the world, and it's hilarious.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah, because and I'll talk about it just to ruin it for you too. So Nemo and Marlin are clownfish, right? Clownfish are what we call they're hermaphroditic, so they can change from male to female
Oh,
based upon the situation.
okay.
So they were together in the anemone where they live, and Nemo, went missing. Marlin couldn't find Nemo, and he went to go find him throughout the whole movie. The reason he was trying to find Nemo is so that one of them could change so that they can keep having babies. So he wasn't looking for his son for his son. He was looking for his son so that he can change and that they can have more kids.
Well, I didn't think that was going to ruin my life, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it definitely ruined my life. I wasn't expecting that. Like, I wasn't expecting that. He did lose his wife.
Right. So they needed another woman. And
Dang. Yeah, you definitely ruined that one for me.
yeah. Another thing, dolphins are assholes. Um, they will. If they said that if you're on the ship and the ship is sinking, you got a baby and you got a dolphin on one side and the shark on the other. You got a better chance to on the baby to the sharks than the dolphins.
Why? Dolphins eat babies?
Dolphins are just really vicious and they're intelligent, so they'll do stuff. Sharks are real dumb. Let's see what else. Penguins are also assholes. I've worked with people who have fed penguins, and they'll like latch on to your arm when you're trying to feed them.
What?
Um, yes, so everything that you think is like cute and intelligent and
They're
cuddly,
not. And the ones that are
it's
vicious.
portrayed that way because
Dang.
it's marketing. I can market a dolphin. Look at it. It's a dolphin. It's nice. You don't know that, when they go and find dolphins, that there's teeth marks over every dolphin because they just be coming up, biting each other, scraping each other for no reason, just
Yeah.
because they can.
Yeah. So I watched the documentary Blackfish. It's about SeaWorld and the whales and how vicious whales can be and how many times people have been, bitten by whales, pulled down into the water by these whales, how they attack each other. What's your thoughts when it comes to like animals in captivity?
So I actually worked in an aquarium for 10 years before in high school and through college. And then I took a year off and I worked there from 2003 to 2013. It was New Jersey City Aquarium, now it's Vinci Aquarium. And we actually, I say we like I still work there. They actually believe that some animals are too intelligent to be kept in captivity. So places like Baltimore Aquarium, not saying they're bad places, but places like Baltimore Aquarium and Georgia Aquarium have whales and dolphins in captivity, and we did not. We believe that these animals, their brain capacity is too advanced to keep them in this cage. So it's like I understand that people want to go and see these animals up close and all these things, but there are some things that I think that need a little more freedom in nature. And yeah, I mean, that's just how I feel. I feel like whales and things like that really shouldn't be, kept in captivity. That they're such advanced creatures, and the way their brains work, the way their eyes work. That's one thing you can tell about an animal is that if their eye is really complex, they're usually a lot more intelligent.
Hmm. Yeah, after watching Blackfish, I mean, I've been to SeaWorld in San Diego a while ago, but after watching it, I was like, I don't know if I could support this because I mean, I already know that, taking animals out of their habitat and all that is bad. It's not nice, but I just didn't know what these animals actually went through and, the lengths that these companies go to like make sure that these animals keep working and not everybody is like trained properly to take care of them. They're kind of just winging it at the end of the day. And like the abuse that these animals go through from the people that work there and other animals, it's pretty crazy. It made me really sad.
And every facility and every organization is different. So watching something like that, you say, "Oh, this is how every place is." I'm not saying that. Like I said, that was a specific place, a time, a staff that treated the animals that way. You may go to another place that treat the whales amazing. That's not to say it doesn't happen, but for the company and corporation I work for, they believe that these animals shouldn't be held, and that's kind of how I feel too.
Hmm.
That is how I feel.
So you said that you've been like in the water for days at a time.
Yes.
What do you do out there?
So in grad school, I was working with crustaceans, um, but my advisor was a big crab guy, and it was funny. When I applied for grad school, I had no idea exactly what I was going to do because in marine biology and marine science, there's so many different fields. I was like, well, so I went into fishery science. When we talk about fishery science, it's any fish that is caught um, by recreation or by commercial. We call it a fishery. So you're talking about your blue crab, Atlantic salmon. Those are fisheries. So animals in those fisheries are studied by fishery scientists. So
Hmm.
that's kind of what I did. So I was working with what we call the red deep sea crab, and it's not really eaten that much here. It's really caught and shipped off overseas. And we were working. It was what we call a data poor fishery. So not much was known about it. So there is a team about 5 or 6 of us working with all these different projects to get more data on this animal. So you can set proper catch limits. You can say, don't catch crabs this size. You want to look for certain things in the crab so you're catching the right one. So my project in particular, I was looking at the age of the crab, trying to figure out how old it was. And I was using a brand new technique that was using a hard structure inside the stomach of the crab. And what was happening is over time, they put layers on this hard structure, kind of like growth rings that you see on the tree.
Hmm.
So I had to open the crab up, take the stomach out, and then put that in a jar. And then there was like 4 or 5 other projects going on that same crab. So you take 4 or 5 samples, but to get these samples, you want the crab to be fresh. So we would go out with the company that was fishing, and it was usually a 5-day trip. So it took a day to get out to these fishing sites. They fished the 3 sites all day, and then a day to come back. So while I'm out there, I'm sitting on the deck, and I'll have my bucket, and I'll say, whoever is the crew working that day, hey, I need 10 crabs. I need 5 males, 5 females. They'll throw some in the bucket. We'll do our dissections on the boat, take all the measurements we need, and we just keep working like that all day.
Okay. So, wow. So, when you initially were in college, did you know that you were going to go into like that sector of science, marine science, or what? I don't know what it's called, but when you think of science, you don't really think of like being in the ocean. You think of like being in the lab, different things like that.
And which I do. I do a lot of lab work. My just passion for marine science came um, when I worked for the aquarium. It wasn't for the aquarium directly. It was for a youth program within the aquarium.
Hmm.
So it was a program that targeted the youth in the city. Like I said, I'm from Camden, New Jersey. So when I was in the program, they tried to match the statistics of the city in the program as well. So it was really a minority geared program. Of course, there were other races besides just blacks, but we really learned the basis, and it wasn't just learning marine science. There were lots of life skills that were taught to us. Well, people skills, interview skills, money and management, time management. Uh, we learned how to teach lessons, as well as teaching on the floor and things like that. And I always knew that I wanted to go into science at a young age. My grandmother was a second grade teacher, and she drilled in our head that math and science will get you wherever you need to go. So as a younger child, that's a weird way to say that. As a child, she would teach me advanced stuff. So, in first grade, I'm doing long division because she's drilling this in my head. So I excelled at science. And it's always nice that when you find a career, it's something that you excel at and that you find fun. That's ultimately what you want, right? So I was like, okay, I know I'm good at science. I like doing science, but science is very broad.
Hmm.
What do I do? And I'm in high school. Um, I'm in honors biology, which is a sophomore course, but I came in as a freshman and they put me in that course. I'm like, cool. And I still talk to that teacher to this day. And he's like, I want you to join this program. I'm like, okay, fine. So, and the first day in, I'm learning and we go through the interview process. And to get into the program, it's a college level course. So I'm taking a college level course on marine science, and I failed like the first two tests
Hmm.
because, I kind of didn't take it seriously. I was immature. I'm a 13, 14-year-old kid. I don't know any better. But once I buckled down, it's like, okay, if I apply myself, this is something I can really be good at. And over time, it came from me failing tests to being the one that trained people on these tests, you know. And I just got really good at it. Just the exposure and being able to teach, designing lesson plans. It was all fun to me, and it was all something I was good at. And I was like, this is it.
Hmm. So working with so many, like, so much wildlife, ocean animals, whatever you call them, sea animals, right?
Yeah, it's all the same.
Ocean animals, sea animals. So do you eat seafood?
Yes, not all seafood.
Okay, I want to know which seafood you don't eat, because let us
I
know.
don't I don't eat bivalves. So bivalves are any two-shelled animals. So clams, mussels, oysters, things like that. Because you're eating everything that's in there. Like I know the anatomy of a clam. So
Hmm.
when it opens, I'm like, oh, that's where the heart is. That's where the gastrointestine is, and you just eat all of that. So yeah, see, you see, I see your face.
I don't
Yeah.
eat it anyway, but
So
yeah, it sounds gross.
most of what I do is actual fish. I do shrimp every now and again, but and crabs, of course. Um, but actual like mussels, oysters, clams, scallops aren't bad because it's just the muscle, the abductor muscle that closes open the shell, which you're actually eating. You're not eating the inside of the scallop. But yeah, so
So double shell animals.
don't do it.
It's a no, because you might as well eat chitlins, is what he's basically saying.
Exactly.
They're the chitlins of the sea. I should market that.
You should go for it.
Somebody's gonna eat it. They eat it now.
Yeah.
So as far as like the fish, for example, like tilapia is like I hear it's a trash fish. Is that true?
I wouldn't call it that. A lot. I've heard people say it's a trash fish, or people say it's a man-made fish. I'm like, I've never seen a man make a fish. If he is, I need to meet him and figure out how he did it. That's impressive. Just make a living animal. If he can make a fish, I'm scared of what else he can make. But anyway, um, it's not a trash fish. I would say it's lower in nutrient value than other fish because of where it is. I believe I'm not a tilapia expert, but I believe it's a freshwater fish. Uh, and freshwater, just as an environment, has less minerals and nutrients than marine water or the salt water does. Uh,
Hmm.
so it is a nutrient poor fish. It is a good source of protein and it's a cheaper source of protein. So there are certain countries that rely on that fish because, of course, protein is needed for your diet. And if there's a cheap, efficient way to do it, you can go on the fish farm and you can make it not make it yourself, but you know,
Breed them.
you can breed them yourself, which cuts down the cost again, and it's a cheaper fish already. So if you can use that and feed your family or a village, or a town off of that, then by all means do that.
Okay. But it's not a trash fish. Maybe the way that they're kept, because I mean, I don't eat tilapia, but I've seen where people were talking about tilapia and like the breeding tanks that they're in are like filthy. And that
Well,
really
that's
doesn't have
just
anything to do with the
yeah,
fish.
yeah, yeah. That just means the fish farming process is terrible, um,
Hmm.
because the industry or the people keeping up with the tank should be keeping on top of that. I've been to fish farming facilities where the facility is great. Um, I went to grad school in Maryland, and there's a whole thing with mussels and oysters, and they started breeding mussels and oysters to repopulate the Chesapeake Bay because those shellfish are important for water filtration and keeping the water quality where it's supposed to be. So
Hmm.
they would breed these animals in what they call spat. It just looks like a bunch of goo, and they would wash it into the bay, and they would settle down and repopulate and help with the water filtration and the water quality. So it all depends, just like to go back what we were talking about with SeaWorld, the facility, the people running the facility. You can't just look at one and say they're all like that.
Hmm.
because that's not the case.
Okay. What do you think is the most exciting thing about what you do?
The most exciting thing about what I do, um, I get to make an impact for a lot of reasons. For what I'm doing right now, it's brand new stuff. Uh, it's kind of at the forefront. And looking back at my career, if I can call it that, I know I'm just getting started, but everything I've done so far has been brand new. When I started in grad school, working with that technique of crustaceans, there was only one published paper on that technique, so I was one of the first people. When I would go into conferences, whether it be a conference in Cali or a conference in Spain, and I have this poster, I'm one of the not one of the first people to kind of take this technique and use it. So, I got
Hmm.
people coming up asking me questions, coming to my talk and things like that. And then working with this is something that's, brand new, just now getting enforced. So there's always an opportunity to do something new. There's something out there that hasn't been touched, hasn't been discovered yet in this field. Where with other fields, you're kind of doing the same thing or trying to reinvent the wheel. You can get into this field and fall into something new, and it'd be your own.
Okay. Do you plan on learning how to swim?
At some point, I will do that. I think what it is I've had people try to teach me and they weren't good people. I almost died, but I didn't really almost die. So my advisor in grad school had a sailboat. And every once in a while he'd take it out. He said, "Hey guys, you want to come out on my sailboat?" We're like, "Cool, we'll come out on your sailboat and get drunk." Marine scientists drink a lot. It's really bad. And they say when you're on the boat, you get drunker quicker. So we had to test that theory out. What they
Mm.
say is that if you have one beer on the lands, it's like having three beers out at sea. I said,
Whoa.
really? So that's cheaper. And I'm in grad school, so that's all we were out there. But anyway, so we get out there. We got to a point. My advisor dropped anchor, and he's like, "I'm going to get out and swim." So he dropped anchor and he got off the boat and started swimming. And all my other lab mates started swimming too. And I'm just in the boat just looking. They're like, "Justin, get in." I'm like, "Nah, I'm cool." Just like, "Just put on a life jacket." I was like, "Okay, good point." So I put on the life jacket and I get in the water. We're out there and I can't swim. So my big ass gets caught in the current and they're over here partying and I slowly start drifting away. I'm like,
Oh.
I'm like, "Hey guys, you want to come help me over here?" And they're like, "Just swim back." I can't do that, remember? So, my lab mate, bless her heart, Stephanie, she throws the life ring out to me and like comes out and tries to get me. But now the current is like pulling both of us. It was a disaster. We got back in the boat, obviously, because I'm here.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, yeah. At some point, I plan to go in and start swimming and learning all of that. I've only had one official lesson, so all is not lost.
Yeah. I don't think you should wing it with people who might be drunk with you. I think,
Right.
proper lessons at maybe the YMCA if they have one in your area.
I
you
will
know,
look into that.
yes, maybe that. Try that. But so that's pretty interesting. A marine scientist who doesn't know how to swim. I hope you learn in 2021. I'm gonna give you to the end of the year.
Okay. It's funny. Me not knowing how to swim, I done did stuff, and people are like, "You did what?" I'm like, "I'll be all right." Like I worked for a tugboat company when COVID hit. Like I lost my job with marine fisheries in North Carolina, where I was before I moved up here. So I was working on tugboats, moving barges, all stuff on the water. And at the end of the day, or whenever you put a barge in place, you have to put these lights on the end that come on at night so people can see, so they don't run into stuff. And we have forgot to put the light out. So me and my captain like, "We gotta go out and put this light on." I'm like, "Okay." And usually he has to come up to the boat, and I have to climb up on the flight deck to get off. And we wear radios, and so I radio up to him. His name is Chris. I'm like, "Hey, Chris, if you get real close, I can just lean off the side and put this light on." So I have one foot on the boat and I'm hanging on this hook and I'm just putting on the light has a magnet on it. So as long as I put it on there, it'll be fine. So I'm hanging
Mhm.
off the boat with the magnet in my hand and kind of dropped it on the barge. You would think I knew how to swim because if there's one false move, I'm in the water.
Yeah.
And we're a two-man crew. So it's not like he can stop the boat and come out and help me. I'm
Oh.
just kind of out there on my lonesome. But I didn't fall in. that day or any day. But yeah, I do things like that, and people are like, "You sure you can't swim?" I'm like, "Yeah, not at all."
Now, this is still science talk, but just to shift it a little bit. Elon Musk is wanting his next vehicle, the Roadster, to actually hover over the ground. What do you think about that? You ready for a Roadster that hovers?
I just want to say why. I have he's my brother, my grad school roommate, who's also in marine science. He wants to get a Tesla, and every time something new comes out, I probably see him in like a week, and he'll probably talk about this. Every time something new comes out, he's like, "Tesla did this." I'm just like, "Uh huh," not really listening, but listening. Why? It's not a car anymore. If it's not on the ground, I don't need a hovermobile. Like we could turn. Is he trying to make the Jetsons a real thing?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like these cars do too much. I just need the car. They start and I can go. Now, if this car has other functions, like if I can get in there and like I don't know, I push a button and like some eggs come out or biscuits. I like biscuits. If I can push a button and breakfast pops out, then I'm good. If I can have like a personal chef, if I can hit a button and the dumbbell pops out and I can lift weights and drive, those cars are like they have fully self-driving cars where you can put in a destination on there and you just have to like touch, from what I've been told, touch and engage the wheel every once in a while. But the car drives itself using maps, satellite, GPS. So you're just sitting there chilling, going wherever, and the car is just driving itself.
That's the Tesla. That I think it's pretty cool.
See, it's cool until the machines take over. Machines take over, and then now what? You in your car, and your car decides to drive you somewhere you want to go. What you gonna do then?
I don't know. There was a guy who actually was driving. Well, he was drinking, I think, and I don't know what happened, but the Tesla like malfunctioned and actually hit a police car. So
Wait. That's like the worst series of unfortunate events ever.
yeah.
It's like I got the self-driving car. I can get drunk and go home. It's like I just hit a cop. Okay? So the real question was he in the passenger seat?
Yeah, he had to be, because I think you have to be in the passenger seat in order for everything to work. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, they're not 100%. I feel like you still have to pay attention, but like highway driving, if you want to drive to here in another state, open road, I'm okay with that. But when there's other cars included, I can't.
I feel like the people that have money to get Teslas aren't driving themselves anyway. Like if I got Tesla money, am I really the one that's driving every day, or do I have a driver? Like if I need to go to another state and I got Tesla money, I'm not hopping on the plane or have my own plane. Like
I think some people who get the Teslas don't necessarily have Tesla money where they can have like a driver. They're just like they're just at Tesla money where maybe this isn't the right decision to make, but they got it. So they're going to do it.
just because I see a few Teslas on the road.
I see a lot of Teslas.
Yeah, when I was making my transition up the coast, I kept seeing them. I'm like, you ain't got Tesla money. I know it. I can feel it.
And I feel like if you can't get all the features on the Tesla, like you shouldn't even get it. If you can't, plug it up at home, if you can't do the self-driving, because there's all these like extra features, HEPA filters, Boss stereo. Like if you can't get everything, if I can't get everything that Tesla offers, I don't need it. Like what's the point? Might as well go ahead and get a Honda and stop playing.
Exactly. Put that money into something else.
Yeah, I went online just to see like how much it would be to like lease a Tesla, and it's like $1,200. I'm like, a month? Yeah, that's
I'm not paying rent to lease a car.
Yeah. And then it orders itself tires when like you gotta have some money in the bank. Like imagine your Tesla orders its new tires and you wake up and your bank account's like negative $7,000. See,
that sentence out loud is scary. It orders itself tires. I don't need that in my life. Just wake up, you go outside, I ordered you tires. Why? Because you needed them. Did you just decide what I needed for my life? What if I wanted to ride the tires out a little bit more?
Not with a Tesla.
Yeah.
Not with a Tesla. So, I think like cars are evolving, of course. We're seeing more electric cars. We want to like save on, what we put into the world and, with gas that creates pollution and all these things. So, would hovering like would your car need tires if it already hovers, or does it need tires to land? Like, how does that work?
So I'm just thinking of like a transformer, like it starts with tires, and the tires turn in and turn into the hover. I don't know what the design is, or is it just like a jet that just like Speed Racer? Speed Racer had, yeah, I'm a nerd. Speed Racer had these these jets that pushed it out, and it could jump over cliffs and things like that. So maybe it's like that. He's going to install rockets on the bottom that propel you off the ground.
I don't know if it's gonna be rockets. It would have to be powerful though.
It could be a small rocket.
Yeah.
It can be small and pop. Look at LED lights. They make things small and strong. They'll figure it out.
True, true. Well, I definitely wanted to like talk to you today on the podcast about everything you did and everything you do, because it was really interesting. I feel like more Black people need to know that we are out there doing things that actually help with the environment, making changes, doing things for the first time, because you could easily invent or discover something brand new in marine science. So I just want to give you a shout out, learn about you, and thank you for coming on the show. Do you want to be found, Justin? Do you want to drop your links and your handles?
I mean, I can. I may not be talking about science. Maybe talking about something random. My Instagram, I'm gonna forget. It's really long. It's terrible _ but _ not _ rippable. All one word. And then my Twitter handle is yo you from Jers. And there's a funny story behind that, and I'll just tell it just to end on a funny note. So this involves me and the bros. We was out in New York, partying, hitting the clubs. We had this one brother who was fearless talking to the ladies. He would just go up and say whatever. And he was from North Jersey. It's different. I'm from South Jersey, two different states. But he had this line. He'd go up to a girl and he would go, "Yo, you from Jersey?" And we were like, "Why is that the line that you chose?" It's like, what if they're not? What if they say no? Where do you go from there? If they say yes, where do you go from there? So we would just randomly just pop up, "Yo, you from Jersey?" And he'd be so mad. I'm like, "You're the one that said it." So being that I am from Jersey, that's my Twitter handle. So if you want to find me on there, I post random stuff. I talk about random stuff, but I'll talk back, as you know.
Okay. I need to follow you on Twitter. I know you was on the Twitter streets.
Yeah.
So make sure you follow him. Make sure you guys research all the things that, Black people can do in marine science, and that we are in and at those tables. So again, make sure you follow him. And thanks for tuning in to Melanin Boulevard. And don't forget to tell your friends to tell their friends, and maybe we could be friends to tune in to Melanin Boulevard.